Hey, welcome to the Grace Kid Podcast. Thanks for joining us this week. We are on episode 20, which is exciting. And so before we get started, I'm going to have my special guest introduce herself.
My name's AnnieB, and I'm 8, and I'm in 2nd grade.
And she's rocking some phenomenal hair today. I love it. And so, before we get into our story today, AnnieB, what is our question of the day?
Would you rather get dumped with milk or get your feet in honey?
Okay, so whoever you're with, ask them the question. Would you rather get milk dumped on your head or stick your feet in honey? And we'll be right back with what me and AnnieB think.
Anything else but you. And God, I'll take this moment to give you everything. Cause Jesus, nothing compares to living life with you. Life with you.
And we are back. And hopefully you had fun with this one. So, AnnieB, would you rather get milk dumped on your head or stick your feet in honey?
Milk dumped on my head.
Oh, that's gross. Really?
Yeah,
Oh, but you'd smell like milk.
whatever.
I think I would have put my foot in honey. Because at least I think it would smell good.
No, it's feet.
What'd I say?
You said foot.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
supposed to be feet.
Okay, I would put both my feet in honey instead of getting milk poured on my head. But so anyway, to get caught up to where we are, last week we learned about King Saul, and if you haven't listened, you can go back. We to the last week's episode. We're in a series called the One Story Plan, where we're going through one story each week and going through the entire Bible. And so, King Saul, last week we learned about King Saul, and he was he a good king or bad king, AnnieB?
Bad king.
Yeah, he's a bad king. He did not really listen to God. He looked great, said he was really tall and handsome, but his heart was not good. And so Samuel tells him, hey, because of what you did and you disobeying God, you will not be king forever. There's going to be a new king who loves God a lot. And so Samuel goes to find this new king. And so God tells him to go to a dad. And AnnieB, what's his name?
Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse. And so he goes to Jesse and he's like, hey, I'm looking for a king. Do you have any sons? And so the first son, he's like, yes, I do. And the first son comes, and do you remember his name?
Eliab.
Eliab. Yeah, Eliab. Now, is that a weird name?
Yes.
Have you ever met an Eliab before?
I'm sure there's one in the world.
Yeah, there has to be at least two, you would think. No, just one? You only think one? Well,
Unless if they're twins.
two Eliabs?
Yes.
Who are twins?
Yes.
That would be crazy. That'd be wild.
Creepy. No, creepy, not
Oh,
crazy.
sorry,
just
not
creepy.
crazy. Creepy. Okay, so Eliab comes out, and Samuel is like, oh, this must be the king. This is it. He looks great. But God tells him, he goes, no. Don't judge by outward appearance. People judge by outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. God looks at the heart. He's like, this isn't it. So you're not the person who's going to be king. So he gets the next son to come. And he looks at him and goes, nope, that's not it. And then the next son, no, that's not it. And he goes through all of Jesse's sons, and none of them are it. Literally all the sons. And so Samuel looks to Dad Jesse, and he's like, none of these are them. Do you have any more sons? Is that a weird question? Like,
Yeah.
hey, look at all these sons. Do you have any more? And he's like, yeah, there's one more, but he's like out in the field. He's the youngest. He's a shepherd. He's looking after the flock. And it makes you think that like even Jesse, the dad, like almost forgot about David. Who and so AnnieB, what do you know about David? Have you ever heard about David?
Yes.
All right, what do you know about David?
that he fought a giant
Yeah.
with a slingshot and a rock.
Yeah. And yeah, he killed Goliath, which is a story we're going to get to in a couple weeks. Or maybe next week. But yeah, so we've heard about David, but when we think about his story, it actually starts all the way back here. And so he was a shepherd. And while he was a shepherd, he spent a lot of time with God. And we know this because he wrote a bunch of Psalms and he spent time with God. And so God was preparing him for great things. And so that's one of the things that we get to see about him. And so Jesse, they send for people to go get David out of the field and to like bring him back in. And so he comes and he ends up getting anointed, which we were kind of talking about it. Anointed is kind of like a weird thing that we don't like hear about or maybe do as much anymore. But
it's like getting milk poured on your head.
Yeah, except it's oil and it's not like a whole gallon of oil like milk. But they put it on your head and it's kind of like setting you apart for something great that God's going to do, is being anointed. God has great plans and David gets anointed for it. And so he gets anointed. And one of the cool things about David is just about his heart. Like out of all the people that Samuel like checked out and saw and looked at to be the next king, it wasn't any of them because David was different. And what was different about him?
His heart
Yeah.
loved Jesus.
Yeah, his heart loved Jesus. His heart loved God.
And the other guy didn't.
Yeah, he didn't have the right heart. And that's what also they learned about King Saul. King Saul did not have the right heart. And so what's really cool about this story is that David will end up making mistakes, and we may cover some, but he pursued God in everything that he did. He talked to God. He confessed to God. He told God his worries, and he trusted God. And so with this story, how do we apply it? It makes us think and remember that even as kids, like you're a kid, sometimes I can be a kid.
No, you can't be a kid.
No, I can't go backwards in age now. But as a kid, God is preparing you.
Nobody could.
Yeah,
You said now.
No one can go back in age, yeah. But God is preparing you even now. Like you going to school and you learning different things, and even the family that you're a part of, all these things.
Even doing this right now.
Even, yeah, listening to this podcast right now. God is preparing you for great things that he has planned for you, just like David. And David ends up becoming king of Israel. And God has great plans for you as well. And so my challenge for you is kind of like this last thing. How are you spending time with God? David spent a lot of time with God. And so my challenge is, how are you spending time with God? And if you're not, what can you do to spend time with God? So AnnieB, what are maybe some things that you can do to spend time with God?
Have Sabbath.
Have Sabbath, rest. What's another one?
Reading the Bible.
Yeah. And what's another one?
Praying.
Praying. Yeah. These are all ways that we can spend time with God. And so I challenge you to pick one and do it together with whoever you're listening with. And so that comes to the end of our podcast. And so we'll see you next time. But for now, we'll say bye. Adios.
And God, I'll take this moment to give you everything. 'Cause Jesus, nothing compares to living life with you. Life with you.
If you would like more resources regarding the One Story Plan, go to visitgracechurch.com/onestory. And if you'd like more resources for your kids, you can go to visitgracechurch.com/kids. We also have a YouTube channel, and you can find it by searching Visit Grace Kids on YouTube. If you like this podcast, we would love for you to like, subscribe, share, and leave us a comment. We'll see you soon.